Top of the morning, top of the morning. As some of y'all probably noticed, I changed the title of the channel a little bit, but it's still Real Rap with C. Um, the politics on the corner thing was inspired because I really thought like, yo, we really used to talk about stuff like this all the time on the corner. Like it wasn't just what people think the traditional things that go in the corner. When I say we really cover all kinds of topics and educate each other and build each other in a lot of different areas. I don't think people fully understand what I mean by that. So I wanted to kind of, I like to kind of bridge that gap, right? It's a place where we can talk about everything from an intellectual level and really dive deep into it. So I'm actually pretty anxious to do this topic right here. I'm not sure how many of y'all are aware, but Thomas's wife, Ginni Thomas, she pretty much doing this January 6th probe, or you know what happened with them trying to overthrow the election. With this probe came out information that Ginni Thomas had contacted was a communication with trying to influence pretty much a coup of the government, right? Pretty much backing Trump, saying, Trump was falsely lost the election, that Biden fraudulently won the election, however you want to term it. So I just found it real intriguing that someone like Ginni Thomas, who, like I said, she's Justice Clarence Thomas' wife. That don't know who Clarence Thomas is, he's a Supreme Court judge, right? So, he's a black man, she's a white lady. Um, she's highly educated as well. She got a law degree from Creighton University. She was actually a lawyer from what they say. But the intriguing part is that, like I said, she's the spouse of a judge of the Supreme Court of the United States of America, right? Not us, not the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, not the New York State Supreme Court, the Supreme Court of the United States of America, right? And her affiliations, I think, will it's kind of mind blowing, right? Um, she created something called a Liberty Central Association. It had an affiliation with the Tea Party. It existed for about 3 years, right? Their mission goals, right? Their agenda was to preserve freedom and reaffirm the core founding principles. So let's walk through that, right? Let's really walk through that a little bit. Let's really touch on that because that's heavy, right? Preserve freedom, right? As if she has any remote idea of what lack of freedom is, right? So that part right there in itself is pretty ill. That's pretty mind blowing. Um, and then the second part is to reaffirm the core foundation principles. What were the core foundation principles, right? So let's really sit back, think, and talk and analyze what were the core foundation principles. The core foundation principles what this country was founded on? It can't be that. Or could be that, right? And then the second organization she was a part of was the Ground Well Group. Give me a second. I thought I picked a spot that wasn't gonna go through this, but obviously I was wrong this morning. So the second part was this other group that she was a member of. So the second one was this Groundswell group, right? Their mission statement, their agenda is to fight progressiveness in the U.S. and Republican Party, right? So when you say fight progressivists, like, are you saying to combat um what the founding ideologies and principles were, going back to that core founding principles, right? Are you trying to keep those the status quo intact, pretty much, right? Like to dumb it all the way down. You wanna maintain a power base. You wanna you want the financial climate to be what it currently is, or what it's always been, which is a crazy disparity between color lines, communities, cultures, right? All that goes into one, right? But then the part that's ill when you think about it is that this is a white woman who's saying she wants to fight progressiveness. Doesn't that go against progressiveness for respects of women's growth too, in the workplace, in the financial place, and what they historically been said that it's not a women's place on, I guess. So that's infringing on women's progressive rights too, right? Because like I always tell people, you can't take part of something and only deal with the part that you want to deal with it. You got to take everything as a whole, right? So no, no, think about that, right? So like I said, she contacted she was a direct contact with a Trump cabinet member because her and Trump had a relationship. Not like that. I'm saying like for a while, from what I know anyway, on a political scale, right? Think about it. Her husband is a judge on the Supreme Court of the United States of America, right? So she, in a sense, has direct access to the President of the United States of America, right? And she's in politics as well, right? The stuff that she's a part of is music to his ears because, you know, it's also how he sees politics in the world as well, right? So they have a common agenda, right? So her communication pretty much was, don't, like I said, don't let Biden steal the election. Don't let Biden and people like Biden pretty much hijack the country and further destroy the country or destroy the country. Pretty much give them hell and mayhem to make it right. So she was part of this stole the election movement, right? From what I'm gathering, she was a main part of it. Like she had a key piece in it, right? So she called out Pence personally, saying pretty much the Vice President of the United States don't have no balls, and he's not doing his vice presidential duties with not certifying the election. But she really doesn't have the power. No, that's a whole nother topic, right? Mike Pence did what was in the framework of his position. He stayed and colored within the lines of his job. He didn't step outside the boundaries of his actual responsibility or his rights, right? So it's just mind blowing that Clarence Thomas was the only Supreme Court judge to vote in favor of whatever bullcrap they put in front of him dealing with the election, right? He's the only one that voted in favor. But his wife he's come out and say, we don't delve in each other's affairs. We don't delve in each other's business, right? Which you will never understand the scope because they got marital privacy, right? No, there's an actual law on the books of that pretty much you don't have to take the stand against your spouse, right? But you're not going to tell me that Y'all don't sit around and talk about these things, right? That these things cannot influence you one iota. That doesn't even make sense, right? Where before Clarence Thomas took that vote, knowing his wife's stance, not only her stance on the matter, but her relationship with the then president of the United States of America. That's a direct conflict of interest, right? The crazy part about that is there's no laws on the books when it comes to the Supreme Court of the United States of America. The Supreme Court, right? There's no law on the books that pretty much states that they have to recuse themselves in the event of a conflict of interest, right? They go off an honor system, pretty much saying, yo, you know the conflict, be an adult, and recuse yourself accordingly or govern yourself accordingly, depending on the matter that's coming before you and how close this matter is to you with the people that's around you, right? Where they could have pretty much influence of your decision making with your vote, right? But dude didn't do that. He voted on it. He was the only one to vote in favor of, right? And now all of a sudden he in the hospital sick. Huh? What happened? Now all of a sudden he's in the hospital sick. I think he went in the hospital on Sunday. This blow up yesterday. I don't think that's a coincidence. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's too much of a coincidence. I mean, it's a reason to me why this January 6th committee is slow walking the findings. Because as we begin to peel back this onion, well, they begin to peel back this onion and really investigate and probe this, they're really discovering that this was an institutionalized coup, right? This wasn't just a bunch of radical people that got together and said, we're going to storm the Capitol. Like, no, this goes a lot deeper than people realize, and we may never understand the scope of it with the depthness. We probably never will go that far with understanding that completely, right? I'm surprised this part came out, to be honest, because what they're saying is that the highest court in this country, which is supposed to be totally impartial, right? It's supposed to be totally impartial. Only thing they're supposed to do is look at the only thing they're supposed to look at is the law and the law itself. No more, no less, right? Nothing about how I personally feel or nothing, like none of this stuff, right? This is supposed to be the governing body that really translates the law into its purest form, right? And to hold everybody else accountable. But if they could be influenced on that kind of level, then we really ain't got no hope, man. You know what I mean? Like, you already know we ain't got no hope. Because, I mean, let's really think about this. They got these political parties or these advocate movements, advocate groups, right? That pretty much says that we don't like the governing body. We don't like their laws. We don't like their approach. We don't like their ideologies. So we're going to stand up a group that's going to be in direct conflict with them, right? But think about it. But the people that are part of this group are considered to be high society, right? So they're deemed just an advocate group, right? But if that's us, we're deemed as a hate group. You know what I'm saying? Like, when we say, we don't want our rights infringed upon. We want equal rights. We want a fair shake. We want to have a seat at the table, right? We're considered a rebellion, or we're considered a hate group. When none of that is preaching hate, it's preaching equality. Right? So just look at the play on words. Look at the play on words, but look at the social economic group we're talking about. And that lays out the difference. You understand what I'm saying? That's what lays out the difference. The social economic status. Because if that was us, that was on this kind of time of these agendas of what our mission statement was, oh, we'd be on that list. And every member, every person that's an officer of that board or that group or whoever will be public enemy number one, and you won't be able to get a good job or whatever else, right? Because now you're on a list where they're monitoring your phone activity. But you can have a woman that's laying down next to or whatever, I don't know what they do in their house, but can publicly be a white figure of a Supreme Court judge, and she openly or a member and an officer of these kind of groups pushing these kind of agendas, and there's no backlash. It's freedom of speech. It's freedom to assemble. Come on, man, you got to make this make sense to me.
I wish Claudia's going back up
To Georgia. That I know. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You got to make this make sense because it's baffling, and it definitely shows you the difference. You know what I mean? That wasn't no black people that organized that riot, that coup. That was a bunch of high society white folks that did it. It's just calling a spade a spade. They organized that on the highest levels. This wasn't some trailer park people sitting there. No, this was funded. This was people spending $1 million on buses. You understand? Like I said, it's baffling. It's hard to understand. It's hard to comprehend. And we'll wait and see exactly what else gets revealed about this. But I just thought that was mind blowing. I thought that was something that had to be put out there. For those that are not aware, you know what I mean? But that's what I'm here for. Like I said, to bridge that gap. You know, but you can't sleep with your eyes open. You gotta stay aware of what's going on out here. Because stuff like this, groups like this, is where 94 crack bills come from. Where ideas or ideologies and blueprints of the prison industrial complex comes from. This is where this comes from. Don't get it twisted. These senators and governors and all that, they're really not that smart, right? They're smart, but they're really not that smart. Their constituents, who they call their constituents, is these groups. Not me and you. We're not their constituents. Their constituents are these dudes, these people that's going and spend $50,000 plates and doing fundraisers for $10, $15, $20 million towards their campaign. You understand? These groups right here is what you got to be mindful of that exists because these groups impact our lives. You know what I mean? So stay abreast, man. Understand what's going on here for real. Like, share, subscribe, comment. Definitely share this one. Definitely let's really investigate this one because this one is major. You know what I mean? But thank y'all, man. As always, I appreciate it. The channel name changed, but the game remains the same, right? We're gonna keep doing what we're doing. We're gonna keep bridging that gap. We're gonna keep educating, man. We're gonna keep our ears to the street. I'll see y'all back here in a minute, man.